All right. Hey guys. So I am super pumped to hang out with you guys for the next little bit. It is like 7:30 in some parts of the world. Some of you guys are a little bit ahead of me. Some of you are a little bit behind me. And so I really just want to be super respectful of your time tonight. And we are going to talk about procrastination and perfectionism. Quickly, as far as an agenda goes, I want to give you a brief welcome as well as an introduction, because I know some of you guys are new to me, meaning, maybe we've just recently connected online, or you maybe just know me through Instagram posts. And my goal is really to get to know people in a more intimate setting, which was one of the triggers of doing this Facebook group. We're going to determine which of the two you identify. And so this chat is particularly about procrastination and perfectionism. So really interested to see on what end you identify. Courtney, I know that you actually said you identify more with struggling with assertiveness, which I think is really interesting. I would love to hear a little bit more about how you struggle with that. And your goals behind what does it mean for you to be more assertive. So we're going to define procrastination and perfectionism together. And then I want to help you break down why you stay on the hamster wheel when it comes to these two things. Hey, Katie, using something that's called a feedback loop. You can have positive feedback loops, you can have negative feedback loops. And just so you guys know, my background is in science. I have a biology degree and I have a nursing degree, so I'm not coming to you as a therapist, psychologist, or any of this, but just giving you a different way to show up and think. And I believe that many of us are very systematic in our careers and in our professions. And so if you have a system to also help you change the way that you're thinking, that I know personally for me, this has been a game changer. I watch it be a game changer for many of my clients, and it's why I'm sharing this with you too. So again, I'm giving you things that might be applied in like one arena of life, but giving you another way for you to be able to think about these things. And we're going to talk about how you break the loop, because when you give perfectionism and procrastination a new meaning, ultimately what I believe this will help you do is to create new behaviors. We're going to go through a quick summary of steps of how you are going to be able to identify when you're on that hamster wheel so that we can help get you off. And then I'm going to challenge you to action. So I can give you all the strategy, all the tools in the world, but if you're not going to implement any of it, it's no bueno, right? It's just you walk away and you have a bunch of information, and that usually leads you into an analysis paralysis, right? It's like you information overload, and it's like, what do I do with this? So you tend not to do anything with it. My goal is to get you to, as I like to call, move your damn feet. So I want to welcome you into Tribe Unfiltered and just honestly let you know what I feel that you're a part of. And that is something that I feel that we get to create a movement together. I have had a dream of powerful and unfiltered women coming together and just doing the things that they want to do. Because what I found in my own journey, and as I look at my clients or just people that I admire and really respect, is oftentimes we will have our shit together on paper, but internally there's either this desire that you really want more or you see more for yourself. And sometimes you put yourself in a box of this is just what you're meant to do with your career, your profession, or it's paying the bills. And I get it. We have to pay bills. Like, that's all important, right? But then we will trap ourselves. And so how can we together, be in a supportive environment? This is so freaking important, guys. As you go to level up, as you go to grow, as you shift your mindset, as you gather and adapt new ways of thinking, what you'll find is everyone's not on board with that all the time. It might be your parents, it might be your coworkers, it might be your partners, it might be your best friends. And so often you have to kind of go and explore and find these people that are like your weirdos, that are like on the same path and trajectory as you. Or if you don't find that, and if you're not forthright in trying to find that, what you're going to find is that you just are like stuck. Right? You're just stuck, stagnant, and we can use the excuse that people are holding you back, but essentially I'm all about empowerment. And at the end of the day, really truthfully, most of the times the only thing holding us back is actually ourselves. So this is what I really see, coming together. I really envision it like when COVID's over, like having retreats, going on trips, meeting in different cities, and coming together and really formulating this movement. And again, I just want to kind of reiterate that what I found is that you can have all the tools in the world, right? But you can still not take the right action. I have a typo on my thing that many of you guys aren't going to see, but I'm calling myself out for it. And you can find yourself consuming all the content, and again, being full of knowledge, but taking absolutely no action. So for me, again, successful on paper, wanting to do things, I started questioning, like, why am I like this? Why are other people like this that are super successful, obviously have their shit together, but won't start a blog or won't do these little things? And we come up with all these excuses. So as I went on my own radical self-discovery journey, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, I really discovered that so much of what is holding us back is, one, ourselves. And when it comes to, when I say ourselves, it's that our minds, it's our beliefs, and it's our values. And if you don't currently have a good forecast or a good outlook of what are your current beliefs, what are your values, and what order do you value those things, that you will stay on the hamster wheel, okay, amongst other things. So I really have become super freaking obsessed with helping other women, I want to look at my notes real quick, shift their views, and to do this really unapologetically, to start going after what it is that you want. And my girls know, and as you guys will come to know, one of my philosophies that you'll hear me say a bunch is moving your damn feet, aka you taking action. And personally, I've become obsessed with helping people take action, whether that earns me income, whether it's just somebody listening to the podcast and being inspired into something. So anyway, so I just love watching other women take action, whether that is, you coming on the podcast and listening to the podcast, whether it's you consuming content on Instagram, or just you getting one little piece of information that you need. I'm out of breath, y'all. One piece of information that you need, that you need to, come across in a day, that just like totally like changes the trajectory or gives you a new way of thinking or being or acting upon something. So I want to tell you guys how I got here, because again, I said, I know a lot of you guys are super new to me. So here's backstory. I am 35 years old. I am a Maryland native, though I now live in Austin, Texas. I have been in Texas for 8 years, which is kind of crazy. I moved here with an ex-boyfriend. Obviously we broke up, and I've made my way to Stephen, and things always, happen as they should. When I moved here, I actually was I had finished my second degree and became a nurse. So I have a degree in biology. Always knew that I wanted to help people, just really have struggled with like, what capacity does that look like? I think I've found it. So as a nurse, I spent time in a cardiac floor, surgical floor, ICU, and then I eventually took a travel assignment. And I had a couple super defining moments in my career, one of which was being exposed to HIV from a patient that was dying from AIDS. And I was on the edge of being very burned out, though I didn't know to call what I was experiencing burnout. But I kept going, and I kept just diving into my career thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to make it all so much better. And I'm big into science, kind of like into some woo-woo, which really is science if you do enough research. But the universe was speaking to me and was, trying to knock on the door and say, hey, like, if you're unhappy, you get to change this. But I didn't have this philosophy or this mindset back then. And so I kept going, took a travel assignment, moved to Austin, and there was a day where I went in the bathroom I think I had like 3 shifts left on that assignment. And I went in the bathroom and I cried. And I called my mom and I called Stefan, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And at the time I had been a nurse for about 4.5 years. And, they kind of were like, well, what are you going to do? You can't be miserable. And one of the things that was like a very big defining moment, and this is something that sometimes I hesitate to say, because even in my burnout, I never was a shitty nurse. Nobody would have known that, right? Like, I smiled on like, it was great. Like, life was great. Nobody would ever have known I was struggling. But never in 4.5 years of my nursing career was I at a point like I didn't care what happened in the rest of that shift, in the other 4 hours of that shift. And I just knew, like, when I was in the bathroom that day, I was like, you can't operate like this. Like, you're going to hurt yourself or you're going to hurt somebody else. And I just knew, like, I got to get out of this. And so my 1 month break turned into, it's almost been 4 years, which totally just blows my mind in a big way. But anyway, so during all this time as I was a nurse, I started to get more healthy, and I started sharing that online with other people. So I've been on social media for years and years and years, one of which was when I moved. It was a way for me to stay connected to my family. But then also I just started sharing my fitness journey, and I started sharing like what I was eating. And, you know, back then, like, I was like a big meat eater and like super anti-vegan and all these things. But I just was sharing it with people. And I got kind of like roped into a multi-level marketing company where I was going to be my own boss and all these things. And I had a certain amount of success with that. But what I found was like, holy shit, like, I want to actually be my own boss. I don't want to sell somebody else's products. I don't want to work for anyone else. I want to do something of my own. And so I always say that I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I grew a brand called The Kinda Fit Chick, which has since pivoted and gone away because that really doesn't serve me, but it's trademarked. I grew my Instagram to over 10,000 followers, sat down with the CEO of that multi-level marketing company, and that's really just, I had another pivotal moment in my life of there's got to be something more. And so in that there's got to be something more, I spent a shitload of money on coaches and mentors trying to figure it all out. And I did. And so here I am. And again, one of the biggest things that I found that holds so many people back is our mindsets, mine included, guys. Everything that I teach or everything that I share, it's not because I'm like reading it from a book. I'm reading it from the book of like Yolanda Russell, and I'm sharing it with you guys. So that's a little bit about me and why I'm here and why I'm so crazy passionate about what it is that I do. And you'll often hear me say these words, which it's my mission to empower you to embrace living your life real, raw, and free as fuck. Because in my own journey, all the shame and all the guilt that I did go through of being this burned out nurse and struggling with that and feeling really ashamed behind that, I also figured out, and I just knew that there was more. And I don't want to have kids, but I believe that I'm here to develop a legacy for, and Katie, your girls are watching, for little girls specifically, to grow up and just choose and to know that they have choices. And, you know, this comes back down to our beliefs and our values and how we grow up. And, you know, our parents do the best that they can, right? Your parents did the best that you can. And at some point, it's up to you to take the initiative to figure out what's worked for you to this point and then for you to change it, right? So you're always going to hear me talking about living real raw and free as fuck. And that's what we're here to do. So let's get into procrastination and perfectionism. So I have found that these are two things that plague successful women. That they are really good at procrastinating and they're ultimately perfectionists. And so I bring you guys together in this group, and as you guys have been coming in, and I put a poll up. And so the results were that many of you struggle with both. And I want you to know that this actually makes sense because step-by-step process. If you're waiting to do something and to be perfect at doing it, you're probably going to put off doing it because you're waiting to have all the answers, to have, you know, the perfect Instagram, to have the perfect message, to have the domain, like all this shit that just holds you back and actually is like, I'm going to blow your mind. Like, you start thinking about this so differently. So typically, I describe perfectionism and procrastination as fear, okay? Fear. Think about it. Because if you got your shit together on paper, baby, you got a degree, you know, you've done some hard shit in your life, you can do other hard things. But when we start pivoting and turning and doing things that look a little unconventional, you know, it's fear. Fear is a very natural thing, guys. But what we have to come to start to do is to question the fear. Because we have fear in our, nervous system as a response that you're either going to fight or you're going to run. And when it comes to something as making a social media post or putting yourself out and, doing a blog or whatever it is that you're holding off, do you really need to be running away from the lion? And the reality is the answer is probably no, right? So when we look at this, there's a loop, okay? So this is a feedback loop. This is something I share with my clients. We go into detail with this. But I want to give you this like systematic step by step by step. So anytime that you have an opportunity to give something meaning, right? So if I say, hey guys, like we're going to do a live today, right? That this is an opportunity for you to put a meaning. What does Yolanda mean when she says that she's going to go live, right? Well, it means XYZ. And so when you start attaching meanings to things, ultimately you change your mental state. So if it's like you come into something and the meaning that you're putting is, I don't know, let's just say, Katie, you ask your kids to do something. And the meaning that they put behind like having to do a chore is like, oh, fuck, like this sucks. I don't want to do it. That they're put into a certain mental state. And that mental state, essentially like how you're acting, how you're reacting, causes a physiology change within your body. And so this is kind of some of the science stuff. Those physiological changes get stored into your body because the beginning of the feedback loop actually starts with all of the information that our brains are bombarded with, like this 2 million bits per second of information. And your brain literally has to distort, delete, and generalize out so much of this information because all that you can process at one point is 134 bits per second. So we're going from 2 million to 134. So it's the easiest for your body. Sorry, it's not COVID. I'm just excited. So it's easiest for your body to start kind of acting in this autopilot, right? Like where you don't have to think anything. And it just is like, it's this natural learned state of being that you get into. And ultimately, this triggers a learned behavior. So when you think about something like procrastination and perfectionism, you have an opportunity to do something. So maybe it's that you want to start a business or you want to build a brand or you want to do a workshop or something like that. So you have an opportunity. And if you behind that opportunity say, well, this is going to be really hard. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start, right? Like whatever your favorite flavors of bullshit is, like let's call that what it is, that you are giving this opportunity a meaning. This is scary. I'm going to fail. People are going to judge you. Whatever it is, this puts you in a certain mental state. And then again, your body's like, okay, cool. She doesn't like this opportunity. So we're putting a meaning and ultimately we are attaching a learned behavior. So if something feels a little bit scary to us and we develop those emotions that aren't in congruence with, hey, go do it, and the emotion is, oh shit, like I don't really want to do that, then the learned behavior is to procrastinate or to put things off or to feel like, oh shit, it actually has to be perfect, right? So this is a vicious cycle and it will literally keep you on the hamster wheel, all right? So how do we get you off of the hamster wheel? Well, when you have the same opportunity to create a blog or to start a business or to do a pop-up workshop or whatever that is, you have to be responsible for giving these things new meaning. Because when we give these things a new meaning, meaning being at the start of the cycle, the new meaning is, oh, this is a little bit scary, but I'm excited behind it. Okay? So if you can take something that feels scary, trigger yourself to feel differently about it, change your physiology, change your whole state, boom, shakalaka, do you now have a new behavior, right? So new learned behavior. So it's like when you start to question your fear, you start getting excited behind your fear, you take action behind it. Well, now the next time that you have an opportunity and it's scary, but it's exciting and it's something you want to do, your learned and new triggered behavior is to move your feet, even though you're afraid. So when it comes to perfectionism, and again, I love to trigger people, guys. I'm gonna tell you, I'm very outside the box. I like to think differently, and I like to get you to think differently with the power of words. So when it comes to perfectionism, I want you to start looking at perfectionism. Anytime that you have the opportunity to wait for something to be perfect, instead of it needs to be perfect, and that's the repeat in your mind, I want you to change this to, I don't love myself enough. You don't love yourself enough. Because think about it this way. If you loved yourself completely to take action and to do whatever is scary to you, your perceived imperfections, you'll just embrace them. Because you know that you're making this choice to take the action, and it coming from a place of love, respect, and amazing intention. And my clients learn HILA, and that's maybe something we'll talk about later. But high level of intention with a low level of attachment. So if you look at your perfectionism as, wow, I just don't love myself enough to take action, that totally changes the game. So Erica is giving me some hands here. I want you guys to know, does that change it for you a little bit? And maybe today you're like, this bitch is crazy. But maybe in a week, a month, a year from now, you're like, okay, wait. This level of perfectionism that I'm showing right now is a signal and a trigger that I don't love myself enough. And then it's like, well, fuck, that seems kind of ugly. I love myself, right? You do have to do work to love yourself. So that might actually be where some of you need to start, is to start with this love of yourself, right? So again, this is why you can go to coaches and you can get a bunch of strategy, but people will literally pull their hair out being like, what is wrong with you, right? Thinking like, what's wrong with you? Why am I not getting it? And it's because we haven't put the foundation. And so all of this is like building a house. You have to have a solid foundation, or gust of wind's gonna come and your house is gonna blow the fuck down, right? So that is something, guys, I'll challenge you. Perfectionism, you don't love yourself enough. And when you change this and you know, hey, I love myself, you love what your mission's about, you love what you're standing for, you love that you are so into your mission, then you have to take action because you love yourself enough. And on the other flip of this is procrastination. How can I give you a different way? And so maybe perfectionism, it's not about you not loving yourself, but you give yourself a different trigger where it's going to trigger you to think about it differently. I'm just giving you an example, okay? So with procrastination, the other way that you can look at procrastination isn't just like, hey, I'm putting this off, or how many of you guys maybe even use well, I work better under pressure, right? I work better under pressure. And cool, you might have something called a hinge point. And this is like some neuro-linguistic stuff that I've learned. We don't have time for all of this. But you may have something called a hinging point. And it's just like a hinge on the door, right? The door is not going to open and close without the hinge. And so some people will have hinging points where you literally will procrastinate because procrastination is your hinge. It's what actually gets you into action. However, for many of us, and I'll challenge you, when you find yourself procrastinating on doing something, if it's giving you this altered level of pressure and stress, ultimately knocking your ass out of your flow, then you've got to look at procrastination not as a hinge point, but as just what it is, you holding yourself back from something. So the way that I will challenge you to rewire procrastination is to just say, I don't trust myself enough to take action. You don't trust yourself. There's so many women that walk around with amazing ideas and do not trust themselves to execute. And so they wait for it to be perfect. And because they'll never in their minds get it perfect, do they find themselves in this procrastination? And I just want you to remember that if you completely trust yourself, you'll get shit done because you trust in the process. Now again, guys, I keep it really fucking real. Guess what I did? Procrastinated all fucking day of putting this together. I've been up since 5 a.m. Guess when I started doing the presentation and putting it all together? It started here, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just do my notes. And I was like, no, let me put this into something that I can use it over again, because I'm going to blow this speech out of the water. I'm going to blow this training out of the water. And when I made that shift of, wait a minute, trust yourself. You're going to show up. You're going to help these women. You're going to give them a different way to think about it. And you fucking love yourself. You go do it. And boom, here's the action, and you're living it, right? But it's always one of these things I want you to remember, that your growth journey and growing, it is just that. It's not like, oh, boom, I'm here today and it's perfect, and you never have to ever do any work, and that you're never going to procrastinate ever again, because you probably are. But again, just keeping it super real and transparent with you. So try applying these meanings. Erica, I'll get to that in a second. So the next steps for you is to become super aware of why, right? So this is where we start questioning everything. Start questioning your fear. Start questioning the procrastination. Start questioning anything, okay? Just anything. And questioning yourself, but not beating up yourself nor judging yourself. Super important, because there's a difference. But just simply observing, hey, why is it that you're doing this? And when you can attach meaning, and you have the meaning, and you know, well, now you're very empowered to take and create a different reaction. Okay, so you become aware of these things. Awareness equals momentum, always. And then you're going to identify the loop. You'll identify why you stay on the hamster wheel, so that you can see your own blind spots and take action on them. And then change the meanings of however it is that you want to define procrastination and perfectionism. I gave you two, with procrastination being that you don't trust yourself enough to take action. Perfectionism being that you don't love yourself enough to let all your imperfections be seen, and just to embrace them and to go for it, okay? And the last step that you can take is, with this new behavior, because you've applied a different meaning and continually repeating this new loop, you're going to be moved into action. This is going to be a process. Always, guys, will it be a little bit of a process. So, your homework, because I challenge you to move into action. And if you're up to it, I would love for you to share this right here in the group. Again, my goal is to foster a safe community for powerful women to come together, to cheer for each other, to clap for each other, to help shift and motivate and encourage and inspire one another. I want you to share what it is that you've been putting off. Whatever it is. Paying off debt. I got a shitload of debt, and I just have a different way that I had to start thinking about debt and applying a different meaning, because the meaning that I had behind it wasn't serving me, right? So is it paying off debt? Is it putting and posting something that you want on your social media? If it's starting a blog or doing something, so many women will get trapped up in all of the minute details. And if it's something that requires words or writing, I challenge you, put it in a Google document first, because you can have all the minute details, but then if you don't have the steak and you only have the potatoes, right, like the little details, you need the steak. So create the steak first. Sorry if anybody's vegan in here, but create the steak, right? Create the big thing, the big piece of information, the big chunk of material, the big whatever it is, and then you have that part. So then when the minute details, you get the domain, you figure out the brand colors, you do all these things, which again, to me, this is not how I come at branding at all. I come at all of this with messy motherfucking inspired action. Excuse my French, y'all know I like to cuss. But you taking action, right? So if it's a blog post that you want to write or a newsletter that you want to create, put it in a freaking Google Doc. Then now you actually have something to worry about. Okay, now how am I going to put all these pieces together? But you have the steak to fill in with the potatoes. And if it's something as simple as you applying for a new job, applying for a job that you don't feel qualified for, go do it. Just go do it, because you trust yourself enough and you love yourself enough. And the one thing that I will promise you is that on the other end of your perfectionism and your procrastination is the freedom for you to start creating exactly what it is that you want, all with full love and trust within yourself. And guys, literally, I procrastinated. If you saw this, my little Google slides that I put together, I'm sure I had a typo. I used the word write, like I'm writing a book instead of write, check in the box. It's right. And you just fucking keep going and you show up, because again, that trust within yourself, that love within yourself is what ultimately, when you show up and you shine and you take that inspired action, it helps other people shift and do the very same thing. So I am so excited. That's it for tonight. Super excited that you guys made time to be here. Sorry that I was a little bit of a hot mess. I am going to, let's see. I only have one person on Zoom. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing over here. Hey, Shay. Shay's still here. Okay, writing a book. Okay, so Shay said she's writing a book. Shay's my new client that I'm working with. So I'm going to read some of your comments here. Okay, so Erica said, you used to think that you had to make things perfectly because you didn't want to make a mistake, but every mistake isn't the end of the world and it's actually an opportunity for something new. Yes. That is so huge. And that's one of the things, if you look at mistakes and failures and all of those things, simple word shift of opportunity. What is this teaching you? What is this showing you? How is this helping you grow? How can you actually say thank you to these things? Game changer for you, promise. And Courtney said she finds if she starts the day with an action, you're more productive and you don't procrastinate. And if you're lazy in the morning, you're lazy all day, and object in motion stays in motion. Yeah, so that is also really good. So if you guys have never heard the speech about making your bed, it's like the first thing that many people will tell you to do in the morning. And what it does is it triggers you to continue to take action on many things throughout your day, right? And so, a lot of when I'm coming at procrastination is people being afraid of their goals or afraid to do the things that are a little bit outside of the box. But I do agree, if you get yourself in a flow of accomplishing just one thing every single morning, I don't stress myself out over morning routines. For some people that works and for some people it doesn't. But if you start your day with just one thing, chances are that it's that domino effect, and it's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. So that's it, guys. I really appreciate your time. I hope that this was helpful. Shay, hang out with me over here for a little bit. If there's anything that you need, please let me know. If you're catching this on the replay and it's helpful to you, I'm open to you guys screenshotting, tagging, sharing, whatever. Because again, you guys are part of a mission and it's a vision, and I'm just so excited that there's a few amazing women that have said yes to just jumping in and joining in the crazy. So I want to leave you guys with my mission, which is always to empower you to embrace living your life real, raw, and free as fuck. I love you so much. I look forward to doing more little mini trainings. I'm looking forward to having some other people come in and pop in and share things too. So just know this is the beginning of a journey. Love you guys so much. I'll see you later.